Hey there, happy Thursday to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and here's what we're tracking for you today. It was a rainy day for much of the West Coast, but now it appears as though the wet weather staying in the Pacific Northwest. Well, how long will the showers continue there, and what it's like all dry in the Southwest? And king tides have returned. What they are and what you can expect and when you can expect to see them, that's all coming up. Plus, we do have the latest drought monitor for you coming up in just a few minutes, as you can see that. As for the winter festivities, I know it hasn't been but just a week since Halloween passed and Thanksgiving hasn't happened yet, but we are already thinking about the snow. And yes, as I mentioned, it is Thursday. I do have the latest drought monitor for you coming up in a few minutes, and I'll let you know if the rain over the past couple of weeks has made any difference in it. We want to thank you again so much for joining us on Weather Out West. This is an hour-long show where we tell you what's happening weather-wise across the western United States, and we have a couple of fun tidbits for you in the mix as well. But we're going to kick things off in western Washington, where more heavy rain, gusty winds are moving in. We wanted to show you a live view from Seattle, where we've had some rain, in fact, and some heavy rain. In fact, we'll go to Rich Marriott. Oh, here's a live view at SeaTac at the moment. And you see, well, this is as of 10 a.m. You see wet roads, long lines, and this is going to linger at least for another day or so. Rich Marriott will tell you everything you need to know in today's forecast.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Rich Marriott, and boy, we had some stormy weather yesterday afternoon and evening. We saw a system move through here with very gusty winds and some really heavy rains in it, though they did have some breaks in between. We're getting another system in today, equally as strong, maybe even a little bit stronger in terms of the winds and the rain. We could see even more rain out of that. Got a little bit of a break this morning with just off and on showers around, even saw a little bit of sunshine or moonlight, depending on when you were looking at it, up there north of Seattle. And things started to pick back up again a little bit at mid-morning, seeing a little bit more shower action starting to move in. But the system that's moving in this afternoon is really going to wet things down and give us probably a very difficult afternoon commute. Because of that, we're in first alert weather mode from noon today until midnight tonight, because we're going to be seeing that heavy rain, the gusty winds, and probably some very poor visibilities during that afternoon and evening commute. You can see it's already starting to get wetted down there in the South Sound at this point. And checking out the view there from Port Angeles, well, the sun's starting to disappear. It was out pretty nicely a little while ago, but gradually starting to disappear. Still a few blue patches there in Bellingham. And as we head down around the Tacoma area, well, the showers have been kind of in and out of there this morning, and definitely in right at the moment. The winds also have died down. We've seen most of our wind gusts recently in the upper teens and low 20s, but those are going to start ramping back up again, especially once we get into the afternoon. Take a look out at Westport along the coast. It's been kind of a wet morning out there, and you can see the seas looking kind of impressive. We do have that coastal flood warning going on out there. We'll look at that more in just a minute. The king tides plus pretty good swells coming in are going to combine to give us the chance of seeing some major coastal flooding out there. Overall, though, first alert weather day today, and that's going to be primarily due to rain, heavy at times, gusty winds during the afternoon commute. We're going to have it in place from noon today until midnight tonight. During the commute, we could see very poor visibility, especially around sunset, a little before 5 o'clock, which is really going to probably combine with the heavy rain to make it really hard to see out there. And hopefully everybody will behave themselves. We won't have many accidents, but that is definitely a possibility. So allow a little bit of extra time for your afternoon commute as you head home from work and school today. Taking a look at some of the watches and warnings that are out. There is a winter storm warning out for the North Cascades until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. They could see over a foot of new snow there in the next 24 hours. And that State Route 20 might close occasionally, it looks like, because of that snow coming down. So be sure and check the pass reports before you try and head over the North Cascades Highway. And we'll take a look at the other passes in just a moment. We do have that coastal flood warning in place until 10 o'clock tonight, basically Grays Harbor northward. And then we have the coastal flood advisory advisory until 3 o'clock this afternoon there for Pacific County southward as well. So busy along the coast because also a wind advisory out there along the coastal beaches until about 7 o'clock or until about 6 o'clock. And then we also have a wind advisory out basically for the northwest interior up towards the San Juans and parts of the northern counties there. So a busy afternoon overall. And take a look at the satellite image. Not looking all that impressive in the infrared, but you see this system developing and getting ready to swing onshore. The heaviest rainfall probably is going to be to the south of us, but we're going to get enough as it is. If we take a look at the computer model, you can see 5:30 this afternoon, we're getting the maximum rainfall coming down right in the middle of that commute, along with the wind. So we're going to see the leaves come down, more clogged storm drains, and so standing water once again, as I said before, probably very poor visibility, especially during twilight this evening. So keep that in mind. As we head into Friday morning, you can see still some showers around, but those gradually decrease during the day. And then as we head into the weekend, high pressure is going to move in. It looks like we're going to have a couple days with some sunshine, which is kind of nice to look at. Checking the rainfall totals between now and tomorrow. You see anywhere from about a half to an inch of rain, and then we don't pick up very much on Friday, and then the weekend basically dry. We don't pick up any more rain whatsoever. If we take a look at the passes, basically barren wet for Stevens, Snoqualmie, and also for White Pass. We're going to be looking for that snow level to stay pretty much above 6,000 feet through much of today. It's a little lower up in the North Cascades. That's why we're getting snow for that highway. But tomorrow it'll drop down briefly to 3,500 feet, so we might get a dusting in the base of some of the ski areas, but it's going to be drying out at the time, so we won't get much. And then as we head into the weekend, we're going to be looking for really high snow levels, but also some sunshine. So definitely not winter snowpack building weather quite yet. So first alert weather today, noon to midnight, because of the heavy rain and the gusty winds this afternoon during the commute, mid-50s. Decreasing showers Friday with some clearing, partly sunny over the weekend, getting into the, well, maybe some low to mid-60s Sunday. Just a few showers off and on Monday and Tuesday, but increasing rain as we head towards the end of the week, and highs next week mostly in the mid-50s.
And you heard Rich mention Snoqualmie Pass. If you do find yourself in Washington the coming months, if you haven't gone already, it is a beautiful place to visit. And the good thing is, if you drive through there this winter, there may be fewer long closures, and that's all thanks to new avalanche control technology. Traditionally, the Washington Department of Transportation, or WashDOT, purposely triggers avalanches for safety using artillery like an old World War II howitzer. It takes hours to close the road, set the gun up, and get ready to fire. Now, the state is able to use remote avalanche control units that will allow crews to detonate explosives up on the mountain and trigger a slide from miles away. That will help cut closures times from hours to as little as 30 minutes. A similar system is already in use on Stevens Pass on Highway 2. And you need to take Highway 2, I-90 through the passes if you're going from Western Washington and in the Cascades and to Eastern Washington. That's where we're taking you next, and that's where we find Spokane's Thomas Patrick tracking more rain and wind headed to the area.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick, and this Thursday morning have not seen so much rain yet, though we do have even more on the way. It's been a rainy November for us. It's been great to have, not quite drought busting yet, but keep it coming. And we are certainly very much welcomed for any of that rainfall. This is a live look over Silver Mountain as you see some of that snow that was up at elevation still out there and on the ground. But this is what we're focused in on. Heavier rain tonight and a breezy couple days to finish out this work week. We'll start with the big picture in our satellite and radar. This is the storm I'm tracking, actually kind of barreling fast towards the state of Washington here, but it's more the jet stream to its south that's helping to guide the moisture itself. That is the draw or the fetch of moisture off of the Pacific Ocean that will ultimately give the rain for not only western Washington and Oregon, but here in the inland Northwest for eastern Washington and North Idaho as well. It'll take a bit though. That storm's a ways away, but it is moving pretty fast. Temperatures will be in the low 50s. It's been mild this morning. Our low temperature was 45 degrees, which is almost the average high for today's date. So this is well above normal temperature-wise. And I mentioned a rainy month. We've already gotten more than 3/4 of an inch of rain. A quarter of that fell yesterday, last night, probably get another 1/4 of an inch tonight with this next but also final wave of rain for this week. So on our future tracker, computer modeling a few spots of rain during the daytime. The main wave arrives in the evening, closer to about 4 o'clock or almost sunset for central Washington. Here you see 7 p.m. for Spokane and all of eastern Washington. Give it another hour or two and it's over North Idaho as well. That solid wave of rain is what's going to give us probably another 1/4 inch in the rain gauges. And it just is a matter of how long does it linger in the region. This would also be responsible for any rain chances Friday morning, but only if it lasts past midnight in the first place. So here's the total amount of rain for the remainder of this week. You see 2 to 3/10 of an inch, round that to about 1/4 for eastern Washington. Again, about half as much as what western Washington will see in comparison. So that's the rain. What about the wind? The wind's just going to stick around for a couple days. I've seen some wind gusts getting already closer to 40 miles per hour today, Thursday, though I think a large majority of us probably are in that 20 to 30 mile per hour range in terms of wind speeds. You see the red spot that's almost directly over Spokane? That's about 11 o'clock tonight. So that's as the wave of rain is passing through is when those winds will be at their strongest. The thing about Friday is that the rain leaves, but the wind stays. So it just kind of stays more annoying than anything else. It's not a wind that's going to be damaging or cause any power outages, just really knocking down more leaves if anything else. How about a dry weekend for once in Spokane? Both Saturday and Sunday finally dry after several weeks where we had one, if not both days, rainy. So we will cherish that as our temperatures do hover above average for the next 7 days, still in the low 50s to finish the week.
Coming up, where to go this weekend if you want a lot of sunshine and possible record high temperatures, but you may already know that answer. Be sure to stick with us. It's time to head to the desert where they're going to have above normal temperatures. Ginger Jeffries from Phoenix tells us if any cooler temperatures or if there's any rain in sight in today's forecast.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west across Arizona where, wow, temperatures not necessarily where they typically are this time of the year. In fact, as we continue on this trend, we may see record heat this weekend. Now, records for us usually, we're talking about mid to upper 90s. I mean, teetering on 100 degrees, but these records are a little lower for the weekend. No matter how you slice it, though, it is going to be warm, it is going to be dry, and we've got abundant sunshine across the state. Take a look. Temperature-wise, we've got 86 today in Tucson, about 78 in Globe, 70 in Payson, 74 in Winslow, a couple of thin clouds just to the northern tier of the state, 62 today in Flagstaff, 73 in Sedona, 87 in Havasu, and about 84 in Quartzsite. So what's happening? Well, high pressure commanding. We've got so much moisture. This atmospheric river continues to feed in heavy amounts of rainfall for central northern California up into the northwest. But this guy, blocking that all from coming into our desert landscape. As a result, temperatures for the valley and the mountains will continue to ride this above normal trend through the weekend. I mean, the differential in the higher elevations, really not all that much of an impact. Same for the valley. We're seeing 62 to about 66 degrees for the mountains overhead. I've got the valley between about 84 to 89. Now it's that weekend that looks on the interesting side. Look at this. I'm calling for highs at 89 degrees on Sunday. Our record is 88 degrees. So again, our records are kind of down, but this just shows you how warm it's going to be. On Monday, I've got you at about 88 degrees and the records are 91. So I don't think we're going to beat or meet records Monday and Tuesday, but Sunday there is potential. Now, as we extend this, a 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, we continue to trend on the warm side, but we also have some moisture coming our direction. As high pressure breaks down, it will begin to slide off. And even though it's a long range forecast model, it does look like we're going to see a temperature change and some moisture moving in. Yesterday, I was sharing this forecast model with you, and you could see the opportunity for rainfall was right at about 20%. We've already bumped that up to about 40%. And again, this is toward the latter part of next week. So we're going to stay the course quite a bit, but we could add to our already in the plus category rainfall totals for the year. We sit at about 7.49. We're over an inch and a half above that. But again, looks like we've got some changes on the horizon. Now, because of all the moisture, oh my goodness, I'm already just itching looking at this. We have a skeeter meter that is reflective of all that moisture, and we're going to see lots of skeeters out there today, still staying on the high side Friday and Saturday. So until that life cycle pushes on through, oh man, the moisture was a good thing, but it's also brought around quite a bit of mosquitoes for us. So today, it is going to be bright. It is going to be sunny. Highs at about 86. We've got 84 in Scottsdale, 86 in Goodyear, 83 in Apache Junction, and 85 today in Chandler. In our mountains, 62 with abundant sunshine. Temperatures below the point of freezing overnight for tonight and tomorrow. Now, our overnights are looking on the mild side as well. Look at this. Upper 50s, low 60s as we bounce around the mid 80s through Saturday.
And a heads up if you live in the Boise area, because more rain will move in tonight and early Friday morning, which could impact your commute. Hector Mendoza is timing it all out for us, and he'll let us know if it's going to be a rainy or dry weekend.
Well, we've had some rain here in the past couple of days, and this is a view out from yesterday as we started to see a little bit less of those showers, and that rainbow came out, and you could see almost a second one right on top, and it was a beautiful, beautiful afternoon with some of those clouds. But we did stay relatively dry as we had some on and off showers yesterday, and temperatures not too bad as we were into the low to upper 60s for many spots here in the Treasure Valley, staying pretty similar there for Twin Falls and out in Jerome. And then we also saw those temperatures sticking around those low 50s for Stanley and Haley and into the upper 50s there in McCall. But as we look at today, we are going to see that after some of the showers from this morning, we're going to stay mostly dry for many of those low elevation areas, so the valleys, including the Treasure and Magic Valleys, but the mountains are expected to see a little bit more of those showers linger here through the rest of this afternoon. And as we look on in through late tonight and early in through Friday, we see that next system that comes on in, and that brings us another round of some of that rain and some more snow for some of those mountain spots. But as we head on into the weekend, we're expecting a lot of that to really turn dry and then see a lot more of those warmer temperatures as we get there through Saturday and Sunday. But this is a look at the satellite and radar picture from early on this morning, where we saw a little bit more of those precipitation chances start to diminish and seeing a little bit more of that make its way on out. So as we zoom on out, it's going to take its time. So again, later on tonight, it's going to be these systems here that are going to bring in some more of that unsettled weather. And that continues till at least the midday on Friday for many spots as it becomes a little bit more widespread. But as we look on into Saturday and Sunday, and even on ahead and getting closer into Tuesday, we are going to see much drier conditions and expect to see a ridge of high pressure start to bring up some of those temperatures. So as we look at this future cast, we're going to fast forward here as we got a bit of a break there. We're going to see a little bit more of that as we get early on in through Friday. So this is around midnight, getting closer to around 1 o'clock, as we're going to start to see most of that come on in through the Treasure Valley. So that includes Caldwell, Boise, Nampa, and even down in through Mountain Home. And as we continue on through the rest of the morning, we're going to see some of that on and off, continuing to see some of that snow start to stack up in some of those higher elevation spots with a cool down, with some of these snow levels down to about 5,000 to 6,000 feet. Then after that, we're going to see as we head on closer into the afternoon and into the evening, we're expecting to see a lot more drier conditions. And heading into Saturday, it sticks around, and we see a lot more sunshine, but temperatures still cool off just a little bit as we get right on par with the average here in Boise and many other spots. But these are the potentials we're expecting. Is it's not going to see a lot of rain there across through many of the valley spots, as we'll see very light precipitation through Friday. We're going to expect to see a little bit more, getting closer to about a half an inch there in through Stanley and in through McCall. And again, we are expecting to see some of that also mixed in with some of that snow. But again, we've started to see, as we've gone into the past couple of days, that some of that has started to really diminish in terms of some of those chances to see anywhere between an inch or a little bit more. And this is what we're expecting as we're getting closer into Sunday. But as we look at the 7-day forecast, as we're paying attention to Twin Falls and the Magic Valley spots, we're going to see that lighter chances for some rain come along there through the end of the work week. Temperatures start to cool down, and we see a lot more of that sunshine there through Saturday. And then we're expecting that warm up to come along Tuesday and through Wednesday. And that's pretty similar to what we're expecting here in the Boise area and through the Treasure Valley, as we're going to see some of those showers early on Friday, dry up as we get on towards the afternoon, and that continues on in through Saturday. And then we go from those low 50s into the low 60s as we head on into Tuesday and Wednesday. Our next chance for some precipitation looks to be in the middle of next week.
And if you are in Boise in the near future, we have some winter activities that you can go to. The Idaho Botanical Gardens Winter Garden Aglow opens for the season on November 28th. That's Black Friday, by the way, just around the corner. You'll find lots of brand new displays, including a Yuletide bar, a cozy lodge-inspired venue with festive drinks, and a warm retreat. There will also be a silent disco and gnome scavenger hunt throughout the garden. Winter Garden Aglow will be open Wednesday through Sunday from 6 to 9 p.m. after Black Friday. And coming up after the break, we're headed back to the Pacific Northwest to check in with Rod Hill from Portland. It was a stormy day in Portland yesterday, but here's what you didn't see on Oregon's coast. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri tells us about the king tides from Cannon Beach.
The Oregon coast is no stranger to a storm, but this is the storm of the storms, if you will. We're looking at high winds, thunderstorms, heavy rain, and behind me, the king tides. These are the conditions that bring people for a walk on the beach, but from a distance.
It's super weird to see, but it's really cool, and I feel like we're pretty prepared for this, and it's kind of fun.
Olivia Mensch was visiting Cannon Beach from Colorado and wasn't expecting anything like this.
Wasn't sure if it was normal or not. I've only seen the coast a few times, and this is kind of crazy. I didn't really expect it, and now I know it's actually a normal-ish thing.
These conditions are normal for this time of year as the king tides start approaching the coast.
So the king tides is essentially a phenomenon that happens every year when the moon, the earth, and the sun align, and it creates a gravitational pull that creates the highest tides of the year.
Over the next couple of days, wave heights will be anywhere from 8 to 10 feet high, if not higher. To give you an idea of just how strong the wind has been, typically the waves hit parallel to the shore. Well, today, those waves are hitting north toward Cannon Beach and Seaside. At Tolovana State Recreation Park, lifeguards were making sure nobody was getting too close to the beach.
It's not so much the surf that we're worried about on the outside, it's that when we get the big surf or the swell that's coupled with the king tides, those sneaker waves will surge all the way up.
Crews already rescued 2 surfers Tuesday afternoon after they got caught in the strong waves. Luckily, they were both okay. But the one thing that firefighters and rescue crews want people to remember?
A lot of people just don't know the true power of Mother Nature and the ocean, and at times it's very unpredictable.
To be prepared.
Putting yourself a little further back than you initially would, never turning your back on the ocean.
If you come out here to look at the stormy conditions. At Cannon Beach, Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
Never underestimate the power of water. That's what we always say. And here was some of the road conditions from Portland yesterday. And you can see there were several crashes on I-5. You see the flashing lights there as the rain just poured on throughout the day. Now, there's no weather impact alert for today in Portland, but they still are expecting rain. Meteorologist Rod Hill tells us when Portland can expect drier skies.
Yes, we are still soggy down here in Portland. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill with this Thursday forecast from the Rose City. You know, yesterday we had, I'm going to say excitement for lack of a better word, but we had some severe thunderstorm activity due to high wind speeds. They hit the north coast, Cannon Beach, which is just south of Astoria, had a wind gust of 70 miles per hour. That was earlier in the afternoon. And then later in the afternoon, in the 4 o'clock hour, we had a thunderstorm that produced high winds as well. That was in the Long Beach area up in Pacific County. That one, the Weather Service actually warned at one point for possible tornadic activity. Luckily, that did not happen. It was just a thunderstorm that was moving fast to produce some gusty winds. And of course, on the flip side of that coin, the coast is used to high winds, so we didn't get many, if any, reports of damage from that area. We did not have anything other than just gusty south winds and rain in Portland, Salem, and Vancouver. There's a second weather system offshore. It doesn't really show up well in the satellite picture, but it's about right there. That's going to be zipping into us this afternoon. It keeps our rain machine going. We do believe it will not be as windy today overall, and the thunderstorm threat, while still technically alive, is not as high as it was yesterday. From the Weather Service, they're showing the convective outlook for the chance of maybe a thunderstorm development, mainly Clatsop County. That's up around Astoria again, and then up into Washington. but even these areas, the chance is not as high as it was yesterday. So we may or may not see some lightning strikes today. If we do, the best chance will be up here around Astoria again. Futurecast just keeps our rain machine going, and like yesterday, not steady rain, but some breaks and then passing rain and some embedded downpours in the passing rain shots. This is later today going into evening as that second weather system comes in. And then behind that, things really quickly quiet down overnight tonight into Friday morning. This is Friday morning, no wind, a few scattered lingering showers, literally. And then later in the day, the rain chance looks to be all gone, and that will set the table for what could be the first completely dry weekend in a month for us. Last weekend, we had that really rainy Friday and Saturday. All right, rain potential yet to come. This shows we could get upwards of a half of an inch of rain up and down I-5 with some higher amounts at the coast. The models over projected the rain yesterday. That was, again, closer to a half of an inch than an inch across our region. Our live cameras, they're gray. We have big seas still coming in, 15 to 16 feet seas. Some of the breakers at the points over 20 feet today. People are still being advised to keep their distance. Of course, the high tides from the ocean and just enjoy it from afar. This is a couple inches of snow that fell overnight at Timberline Lodge up on Mount Hood, but a lot of that is already starting to melt. The snow levels are on their way back up today. That's a wet looking Rose City, and there's a raindrop as we look at our Capitol Mall down in Salem. Temperatures again will be very mild. It is a south wind continuing statewide. It shows 60 out in Pendleton. Some rain out in eastern Oregon, but not much. This is mostly going to be wet in central Oregon and here on the west side. Portland 7-day. We could hit 60 today. We were 63 yesterday, by the way. Tomorrow it all ends with the rain chance completely disappearing by late afternoon. There's the dry Saturday and Sunday. In fact, Sunday mostly sunny and 63. Shower chances pick up to begin, it looks like, next week.
With all of that rain, plus the days starting to get darker earlier, transportation officials are warning to be extra safe on the roads. According to the Portland Bureau of Transportation, last year, 83% of traffic deaths in Portland happened when it was dark outside, and 86% of all pedestrian deaths happened during darker conditions. So if you're biking or walking at night, PBOT says to dress as visibly as possible. If you're driving, be extra cautious when making turns or approaching crosswalks. Be sure to keep your headlights on and maintain a safe distance between other vehicles. And a reminder, in Oregon, it is illegal to drive while holding and using a cell phone. And you heard Rod say that a dry weekend with sunshine is expected, which will give you plenty of light to see this little cutie if you are visiting the Oregon Zoo. This baby is Tulatue, of course, playing with a blue ball that's basically as big as she is. You see her there just playing with her little trunk. The zoo says that the ball has been Rose Tu's favorite toy for the past 25 years, so zoo patrons have probably seen her bopping it around the elephant enclosure before, and now she's sharing it with her little daughter. Oh my goodness, so sweet. And from the look of things, Tulatue is enjoying it as much as her mom. She looks so playful and so frisky indeed. I just love baby elephants. Who doesn't? And when we come right back, we're taking you to Denver for the latest forecast with Kathy Sabin and Katie LaSalle. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Thursday. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Let's continue our tour out west and go to Denver, Colorado, where Kathy Sabin is tracking mountain snow showers, gusty winds, and a cooler weekend. Plus, Katie LaSalle gives us an update on Colorado's snowpack and more.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin. We have had an interesting few weeks of weather with this dominant ridge of high pressure. We've had record high temperatures, elevated fire danger, and the first seasonal snowfall for Denver nowhere in sight. But we are tracking a system that may bring in a little bit of northern mountain snow today. It's all part of a trough off to the west where a little piece of energy will cut off from that and cross Colorado. It's not a lot, but it's something. And we're also talking about all of the moisture coming in off the Pacific into the western U.S. The atmospheric river will bring the potential for flooding from the Bay Area up into Portland, Seattle, with snow across the Cascades and Sierras. But once all of that moisture heads toward Colorado, hits the ridge, it all goes north of our forecast area. So the travel impacts will be greatest north and west of us, although we do have a chance at seeing a little bit of light mountain snow, northern mountain snow, but not enough today that we have winter weather or travel advisories. But at least it's something to track after a week with temperatures in the 70s and 80s when we're typically in the 50s. We've had some high and mid-level clouds roll in. We have a little bit of snow coming to Steamboat, Craig, Meeker, Walden. I don't know there'll be much of an impact for folks that are traveling up there, but maybe they'll see some snowflakes on their windshield, something that we do not have in Denver's forecast yet. We will start this morning in the low 40s, warm to the upper 60s today. Mostly sunny. Wind picks up along the foothills with that little mountain system cruising by, and then things settle down. Friday, nice. Weekend, cooler. No snow in our forecast. As a matter of fact, temperatures start to increase again for the first part of next week. And again, the average high for Denver this time of year is about 58 degrees.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle. Today, the winds have been whipping the leaves off the trees, increasing cloud coverage, and in the high country, a few light rain and snow showers over our northern mountains. We do have a ridge of high pressure in control over the desert southwest and the Four Corners region, but it's really the winds today that we are bracing for across the Front Range and Eastern Plains here in Colorado. Colorado's high country, a few light snow showers here and there, less than 1/2 inch of accumulation, but we have been watching the western U.S., the Pacific Northwest, impacted by an atmospheric river event, and that has brought us some pockets of heavy rain and snow to places like the Sierras, the Cascades. Colorado's Rocky Mountains, how are they doing? Well, we're not seeing much snowfall just yet. Here across the region, we are at 22% of snowpack of our median for all the river basins here across the state. Now, with that, we are going to be inching closer to the slowest start to the snow season since 2017. But want to let you know, the 2017 season did finish above average statewide in terms of our snowpack, which is great as we look ahead because we are bracing for some colder air, wetter weather. It looks like over the next 8 to 14 days, looks like we'll get some help by the end of the month. Here's our 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook. Western Colorado will be wetter than normal all across the Denver area and Eastern Plains. We are now at 202 days of no snow just yet here in Denver. That is the 16th longest streak so far, inching closer to that top 10 number because as we look ahead at our 7-day forecast, it is going to be 7 to 10 days of dry conditions, but it will be colder for the weekend.
And speaking of the snowpack, this could be a good weekend for those of you who have been patiently waiting and waxing your skis in Colorado. Breckenridge and Copper both set to open for the season tomorrow, and Loveland is going to start welcoming skiers and snowboarders this Saturday. Visitors can expect top-to-bottom skiing. There will also be a small terrain park. Opening day conditions might still be a little tricky, though, and they're not recommended for first-timers or beginners. Private lessons will only be available for intermediate and advanced riders. Now, the ski and ride school are set to open later on November 27th. For everyone who does hit the slopes, Loveland is giving away limited edition opening pins and brownies. Makes it even better. But like Kathy Sabin and Katie LaSalle said, the snow will not be present in Denver's metro area. But that did not stop the Colorado Department of Transportation testing a new avalanche control system as well. Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen has much more.
Yeah, there are more than 500 avalanche chutes hanging above Colorado highways. 278 of those are actually monitored and controlled by CDOT, usually using some type of explosive. Well, this avalanche chute here on Mount Bethel just got a whole lot easier to bomb. This dusty explosion was just a test, but when snow covers this mountain along I-70, the blast and percussion from that bomb will bring down a controlled avalanche with a remote.
One push of a button and we'll mitigate 7 miles of interstate.
This avalanche chute on Mount Bethel sits above Interstate 70 just east of the Eisenhower Johnson tunnels. CDOT's job is to bring snow down before it slides naturally, catching motorists off guard, which has happened several times in recent years. An avalanche covered the highway with snow in this spot in January of 2017. Mount Bethel is bone dry today, but the beautiful weather was nearly perfect for helicopter pilots to load the towers with bombs, enough to last the whole winter.
Each box holds 12 charges, more than enough for what we need here.
These remote explosions will replace an old system which involved shooting missiles out of old World War II era howitzer cannons. That would often close the interstate down for more than 30 minutes during busy daytime hours. Now CDOT can blast in the middle of the night with little impact to traffic.
If we're doing it right, public won't even know we were here.
Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen for the 9 News Weather Impact Team.
And continuing on with the winter theme, New York City's famed Rockefeller Center will soon get its Christmas tree for the holiday season. Yes, the time has come. This is the Norway spruce, leaving its home of East Greenbush, New York. The 75-foot is scheduled to arrive at Rockefeller Center. My New Orleans accent's trying to come out there. It's expected to arrive on Saturday. And when it's put in place, the tree will be draped with more than 50,000 multicolored, energy-efficient LEDs and topped with a Swarovski star. The lighting ceremony will be part of a live broadcast at Rockefeller Center on December 3rd. And in Chicago, a 68-foot Norway spruce from Glenview, Illinois, is being installed in Millennium Park. It is one of the largest selected in city history. And crews have just about 3 weeks to decorate it before the lighting ceremony on November 21st. Looking forward to that. The holidays are right around the corner. Up next, we'll check in with Sacramento's Monica Woods and San Diego's Vanessa Paz for their forecast. While the Sierra mostly experienced rain and a wintry mix yesterday, crews at ski resorts noted that even small amounts of snow are helpful as they gear up for the season. Borilla Mountain Resort has been working since the summer months to prepare. They said that while Wednesday's conditions weren't quite cold enough to start making snow, crews were hopeful next week would allow for it. But they might have to wait a little while longer. The weather is starting to settle on down in Northern California, but the good news is it's just in time for the weekend. Sacramento's Monica Woods is tracking a pretty active weather pattern next week. However, rain, snow, and cooler weather are making a return.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods, and we had an active midweek outlook, and now we're starting to head into some drier weather, but we've got some morning clouds for the coast and the valley. We'll clear to mostly sunny skies for the afternoon, dry and warmer for the foothills, and sunny skies ahead for the Sierra. Our statewide precipitation is on the way up. Things are actually starting off quite nicely for the water year, which began on October 1st. We've had over 5 inches of rain for Eureka, closing in on almost 4 inches of rain for Redding. We're at about 2 1/4 inches for Sacramento, over an inch for San Francisco, almost 2 inches for Stockton, Modesto, up to over an inch of rain. Bakersfield, almost an inch as well, and almost 2 inches of precipitation for the Tahoe Basin. And this is going to put us above average, a nice way to start for the active time of year when we start to draw in more in the way of rain and snow. Now, we're getting a little bit of a break after the most recent storm rolled through on Wednesday. A few showers lingering for the northern end of the valley and along the northwest coast, where we continue to see precipitation build for Crescent City and Eureka, almost down to Fort Bragg there. That's going to lift its way even farther to the north by the time we get into our Friday forecast. We've got a little bit of patchy low cloudiness to start off the valley forecast, but other than that, things are starting to dry out for the weekend. Once we get into next week, we're going to watch a low pressure system kind of cut off from the mainstream. It's going to pick up steam here in the Pacific, and then by the middle of the week, it'll start to stretch our way. that could be quite an active period of weather with several days of precipitation potentially in the forecast. In the meantime, we're heading into the end of our work week, almost to the weekend. Highs are in the 50s up top for this year, 50s and 60s down low. We have some color just kind of hanging on for the lower elevations. As far as the higher elevations, it is long gone after a couple of wind events that have passed through. As we move our way southward here through the Central Sierra, highs are going to reach near 60 to 65 degrees for the Central Valley. We're in the low 70s, and that air is just so clear after the recent rain. For the Central Coast, we're in the 60s for the Monterey Bay Peninsula, 70 for Big Sur. As we head a little bit farther to the south, Paso Robles at 73 degrees, San Luis Obispo at 70. Inland areas in the low to mid 70s as well. Overnight lows are going to be falling into the 50s. A nice crisp start to the day. As far as our Thursday afternoon temperatures across the coast, again, we're looking at areas of low clouds, but a mix of sun and clouds throughout the afternoon. We're at 65 for San Francisco as we head inland. Places like Napa, 69, Rio Vista in the Delta at 71 degrees. Farther to the north, again, we will see that precipitation lingering here, especially along the northwest coast like Crescent City and Eureka, only reaching highs near 60. And you'll see in the north end of the valley, still only looking at a high near 60 for Redding, with areas of rain into our Thursday and even lingering light showers for our Friday forecast as well. Thursday temperatures throughout the capital region will be right around 70 degrees. Overnight lows once again falling into the 50s. So we're pretty close to average actually for that forecast. Beyond that, highs are going to be warming substantially by the weekend. We're looking at almost mid 60s for the Tahoe Basin with a mix of sun and clouds. For the foothills, gorgeous still up at Apple Hill. Highs are going to be in the mid 70s by Sunday, and we're even taking that into early next week. Mix of sun and clouds with some fog in there for the coast. Just be aware of that. Our forecast extends into early next week with highs in the 70s and dry weather. And there's that active weather pattern I was talking about by the middle of next week.
Now let's head on down to Southern California to check in with Vanessa Paz. She's tracking a warm up and the return of king tides.
Happy Thursday. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Well, this is what it looked like earlier in San Diego. And again, this is why we pay the prices we pay to live here, because of stunning views like this in the month of November. This is what it looked like at Coronado in Hotel Del, nothing but clear skies. And we're expecting clearing, especially as we inch towards the end of the week due to high pressure sort of redeveloping. All right, as we take a look at weather headlines, I can't help but show off another viewer photo of the supermoon. It peaked a couple of nights ago, but we can still see it close to that 100% range. Last night we did, and we will continue to as we inch towards the end of the week. So shout out to Janet Legaspi for sending in this viewer photo. Incredible shot just over what looks like the Bankers Hill, Mission Hills kind of area. So headlines, minor warming all the way through the weekend. Keep in mind that if you're headed towards the water, we are looking at king tides. That's typically anywhere around the 6-7 foot range when it comes to the high tide. And that also means that we'll have extremely low tides, which is good for the kids. In terms of tide pooling. Above average temperatures are on tap Friday through Monday for the inland valleys. Here's a quick look at the surf forecast. Again, all eyes are on the coastline because we are looking at king tides, which I mentioned is anywhere around that 7 foot range, peaking around the 8:30 hour this morning and then tomorrow morning around 9:15 or so. We're also going to see the threat for minor coastal flooding, especially in those low-lying areas, parking lots. So we always advise our residents and even our viewers to steer clear and never turn their back on the water in those low-lying areas. High temperatures for this afternoon will be in the upper 60s, low 70s from Oceanside all the way down to Chula Vista, mid 70s, so a few degrees warmer for interior parts of the county, upper 60s meanwhile for the mountain areas. We still will have a breeze coming in from the northwest, anywhere between 14-15 miles per hour or so. So we're going to have that nice coastal breeze, and then those winds are going to shift out of the east, and that's going to help warm things up and dry us out looking ahead to Friday into the weekend. As we take a look at overnight lows, we will see those numbers plummet into the 50s again. So yeah, if you have any evening plans tonight, even tomorrow night, make sure that you're layering up, because sure, during the day it's really warm, but once we inch towards the evening hours, we are talking about those numbers plummeting. Overnight lows in the mountain areas will be in the high 40s, high 50s, meanwhile for the desert communities. Here's what's on tap as we wrap up the week. For tomorrow's highs, we're still going to be rather nice and comfortable along the coastal areas, but notice how those numbers get a little closer to that 80-degree mark mark for the inland valleys. And those numbers will continue climbing as we inch towards the weekend. So big picture, we are going to have this ridging move offshore closer inland, and that's going to assist with warming looking ahead to the weekend into early next week. Your coastal and inland 7-day forecast looks like this. Minimal daily changes for the beach and coastal communities. We have that slight warming on Monday, and then a trough of low pressure will kind of save the day, cooling us down towards the middle of next week and also bringing us the potential for some light isolated showers. High 70s on tap for the inland valleys, mid 80s. The warmth peaks Sunday and Monday for the inland valleys, and then we're back into the 70s by next Tuesday and Wednesday. The mountains and desert areas, mid 60s. We climb about 10 degrees or so by the time we get to the first half of the weekend, and we continue warming up all the way through early next week. And then temperatures will cool down towards the end of next week, along with a chance for some showers.
And stick with us. We have the latest drought monitor when we come back. Every Thursday, we get an update on the drought monitor. And even though the Northwest is getting some much needed rain, it's not enough yet, at least, to break the drought. Several inches of precipitation hit the Cascades and coastal areas this week, with 1 to 3 inches falling across northwestern Montana and northern Idaho. But despite the heavy rainfall, drought conditions remain stubborn across the region. Let's take a look at it. So in Washington, nearly 95% of the state is still in a drought, which is unchanged from last week. Oregon saw minimal improvement, and the problem with this, we're early in the wet season, and one storm can't make up for months of dry conditions. The impact shows up in the rivers. Stream flows across the west still remain very low, running well below average for this time of year. This is all according to the update from them. The recent rain is welcome, but the West still has a long road ahead before drought conditions significantly improve. Now let's look at California. I wanted to show you. So this week, 49% of the state is not even considered abnormally dry or in a drought, so we've had some improvements, so looking better there. As for Phoenix and just Arizona in general, you see nothing has changed. So not a good thing, but also not a bad thing. In Denver, however, we've had some improvements. You can see basically we've had from a moderate drought to exceptional drought, which is D1 to D4. We've had some pretty big improvements there from last week, from 29% down to 23%. So again, some improvements. Meanwhile, in Idaho, not much has changed. In fact, had some 1/10 of an inch of, or 1/10%, nothing really of a change. And Oregon, we've had some changes in terms of we've had some progress, but also still nothing major. Now with Washington, last week we had 100% of the state at least abnormally dry or somewhat in a drought. Now 99.2% is still abnormally dry, but we're getting there, thankfully. We just don't need that all of the rain at once. So we'll bring you the latest, of course, over the next couple of weeks as we continue to see some improvements. That's going to do it for us here on Weather Out West for today. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and we want to thank you so much for being with us, and we hope to see you again tomorrow.